Hello everyone, and welcome to the Joomla 3.1 Tags webinar, where you're going to learn some secret tricks and developer tips for the new Joomla 3.1 Tags component. Now, tags are a type of metadata. They're keywords or terms that can be assigned to various pieces of written content, images, or components that are used on a website in order to be indexed by search engines, so end users who are browsing the internet can search for and locate your content. The new core tags component in Joomla 3.1 enables users to easily integrate tags for articles, images, and other components. And today your host is also going to discuss how to use tags in an extension, specifically a module. Now, again, today you're going to learn basic tags functionality. You're going to learn a few secret tricks for using the core tags component, a few hidden little gems of information, and also there are a few developer tips, how to use tags while developing a module. And your host is going to stick around for a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. We probably have a variety of users and different levels of users in today's webinar, and she's more than willing to answer your specific questions. And her name is Elin Waring. She is a long-time Joomla user and a former president of Open Source Matters, the nonprofit organization that provides legal, financial, and organizational support for the Joomla project. Now, she has supported a number of initiatives ranging from writing the translation policy to obtaining a trademark for the Joomla brand itself. She's made over 5,000 posts on the Joomla forums, and she's written the most frequently asked questions for Joomla 1.0. She's a very active member of the community. As I first joined the community, I heard her name all the time. She's the co-author of the official Joomla book as well. And in her spare time, Elin is a professor of sociology at Lehman College, City University of New York, where she teaches research methodology. She's published a number of other books related to her other interests, and more than happy. We're really proud to have Elin joining us this morning. Elin, good morning.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks. Yep. You got me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, great.
Before I pass the presentation over to Elin, just an introduction to our company. We are CloudAccess.net. We are the official host of the demo trial of Joomla at demo.joomla.org. You can launch unlimited free demo trials through our platform, and each of those sites is active for 30 days. And what makes us unique is we're on the phone with our clients. We will pick up the phone and talk Joomla with you, answer your Joomla questions, and give you some really great support as you develop your home online using Joomla. I am recording this webinar, and you can find a copy of it later today at youtube.com/cloud access. So all this information will be online a little bit. And please feel free to locate the GoToMeeting slide out question area. You can post a question for Elin, and I'll help moderate those questions at the end of the presentation. We'll give you a few additional links, too, for learning about the tags feature. Elin, I'm going to go ahead and pass the screen to you now.
Great. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the presenter. Show my screen. So, Ryan and Cloud Access asked me to come talk today about tags and what we're doing with tags in Joomla, and maybe to show some of the things you might not have noticed already about using tags. I don't know who's in the audience, whether it's people who are website administrators or implementers or developers, so I'm just going to focus on giving an overview, and then hopefully have a lot of time for questions and answers so we can meet your needs. So as was said, tags is a new feature of Joomla 3.1, which came out a couple months ago, and it's a component. It's also what is called a set of APIs, which means it's a lot of underlying code for making working with it flexible and possible. So that'll be more of interest to developers. First, I'll say Ryan already said a little bit about who I am, and I have done a lot of different things around the Joomla project. So I have a pretty good sense of like what it is to run a Joomla website, and that's why we ended up doing tags, I think, is the people who do Joomla development are people who often do have their own websites and really felt like it was an important need to have. So tags are basically, in Joomla, a lightweight, flexible way to organize your content. It's a new way of organizing your content that's different than traditionally what we've had in Joomla, which has been categories. And you could use them in many different ways. We don't just have one idea of how to use tags. So you could use them to quickly create lists of related content in a very flexible manner outside of the category structure. You can use them to create a new kind of user engagement in your website by allowing people to tag content in articles or in other content that you have. Or you can use it really just for yourself to help you manage your own content. Like you could really totally use tags just in the back end of Joomla. You don't have to use them in the front end, and that's a model we often also wanted to support. So we tried to make a very flexible system that could do all three of those things. So the flexibility means that it's up to you to decide how to use them. We're not going to tell you how to use them. So you have to decide who are you going to allow to create tags? Who are you going to allow to tag items? Are you only going to do it in the back end as kind of I think of it as like a top-down website administrator-driven way of organizing content, which is totally fine and a great need that we've had over the years. For example, where people, including me, would always say, I have, say, a school, and in the school I have classrooms, and the teachers have a homework blog, and they have a calendar page, and they have some web links that they've posted, and maybe they have a place where they're uploading images. And in order to get all those pieces together, you have to more or less end up making individual menus for each teacher or some other kind of workaround. But now with tags, you can just have, Mrs. Ryan as a tag and have tag all of her content and pull all that material together really easily. So that's, from a site admin point of view, I think that's really useful. You can also decide that you're going to let users create tags and add tags to items. And you can also decide, make decisions about how you want to display your tags. So today what I thought we'd do, and I do have a website, we'll do some looking live on a site using tags. We're going to look at the basic tag management functionality, the tag field that's used for adding tags to content, and the front-end views, and then a little bit about how embedded tags are working, and then we'll take a look at some code, if very basic, but some code issues with using tags and extension. So the first thing is that Joomla tags, there is a tag manager that's very similar to all the other content kind of managers that we have in Joomla. So if you're seeing the image, you see it looks a lot like a category page, actually, category manager, because it's got nesting. But it's basically like all the other content types that we have. We have a list of items, and they have aliases, and we have filters on the left-hand side, and we have a toolbar at the top. So it's very standard and familiar to Joomla users. And it's basically a place where you can, just like you would with an article, you could create a new tag, and you can give it an access level and put text there and whatever it is that you want to do. One of the important things about the Tags Manager is that Tags does support nesting. You could see that in the previous slide where the baby was nested underneath blue, or ultramarine was nested underneath blue. So this is unusual in tags. Most tagging systems don't support nesting, but this was a feature that was much desired in the discussion when we were implementing tags. It was on in many places, and it's actually proven to be quite useful and popular feature to be able to nest tags. So when you create a tag, you select a parent. You can, if you want, select a parent just like you would in a category. You don't have to. You can also just put all your tags at the root of the tag tree, but if you do want nesting, it's very easy to do. It's just that simple drop down, like in categories. And the other thing that you do in Tag Manager, of course, is to set options, and you would be setting your options for front-end views. And most of them are pretty standard. Again, very much like we're used to in other content locations, like what format are we going to do the lists in, and that kind of thing. But the one unique thing about tags that you should take note of is that in tags, there's two modes for the tag field, and we haven't seen that field yet, but we're going to see it in a minute, which is one is the Ajax mode and one is the nested mode. So that's the one setting that's unique to tags. And this is very important because some people really like one or the other of these modes. So in the Ajax mode, on the left, it features on-the-fly tag creation, and it searches what you type, and the nested mode gives you that nested list like we're used to with categories. So you can actually see the nesting. So the disadvantage of the Ajax side is that you don't right away see a list of tags, and whereas on the nested side, you do see a list of tags and you see the nesting structure. So if nesting is important to you, you may want to investigate the nesting option. But most of the time, we found, and our preference of the developers in thinking about how we thought we would use tags was that we would be using the Ajax option most of the time because it's the most flexible. So I happen to have a tag, open, but you can see that it's very similar to creating an article. If I go to what's called tagging an item, so if I go to my article manager and I look at the archive, just gonna so if I'm going to tag an item, here I've already tagged this article with the red tag on the right-hand side of the page, and it's set up in Ajax mode. So if I wanted to create a new tag, totally new, say purple, I could do that. And see how it says looking for purple? It didn't find purple. So if I do that, it's just going to automatically create a new purple tag for me, which is a really cool feature of the Ajax model. On the other hand, if I add a blue tag, once you get to 3 letters, then you start to get the drop down of the available options that start with the same letters as what you typed. So I could just add the blue tag like that. So to summarize that, what happens is that if you're typing and it finds, once you get to 3 letters, it finds a match of a tag name that begins with those same 3 letters, it'll start offering you basically autocomplete options. You don't have to use them, but you can. If it doesn't find a match, it'll automatically create a new tag for you. So when I save, I'm going to save and close this. If I go back over to the Tag Manager, I'm going to now find that I have purple as a tag type. So then here it is. So one of the things about having on-the-fly tag creation, I'll just say some limitations of it. One is that it's no nesting. Like if you create a new tag on the fly, it will always put it at the root. So it's always going to be at that top level. And that's the one place where you, as a site administrator, might be using the tag manager. I don't think most people use the tag manager itself very much, but the two reasons that you might use it, one is to deal with new tags that have been created that are all at the base level, and you might decide, I want to nest them in some manner. The other thing is that people make typos in tags, or maybe you don't like the tags that they made, so you may, the one place where you can actually completely delete a tag or change the access level of a tag or other kinds of content operations is in the tag manager. But most people are probably not going to the tag manager to create tags. A lot of times you would just be doing that as you're working in content. So, and that's why there's this strong preference for the Ajax tag field. So we would, because it's so easy to do, and just create new things on the fly. So that's the story of the tag manager. And I already showed you how basically you'll be creating your tags in very easily, and there's not really much to say about tagging items except to say that, yeah, you in any component that has bought into the tagging system, which is all the core components plus whatever components have extensions developers who've decided that they want to participate in tagging, they would have this tag field. It should be in the standard location on the right if people are following the design, and they would just be tagging items. There's not really much more to say about it. It works exactly the same way in the front end. In the front end, the location is a little bit more hidden, in my opinion, than it should be, but it's on this publishing tab, and so you just do the exact same thing there. And you can make a new, because of we have it set to the Ajax version, and we have it set to allow making new tags. We can just make a tag right there on the front end, and that's what I said about user participation. You could actually, if you played around with it enough, you could actually have a design where users could be setting up, adding tags, even if they don't have edit rights to an article. We don't have that in the core, but someone could easily do that with the right set of layout overrides and the right ACL settings. So if you wanted to do something complex like that, you definitely could. And it would be cool to have that in the core, but it's not there now. And so you can see that in my article view now, I have the 3 tags that were assigned to the beginner's article. So it's the blue tag, the Joomla tag, and the orange tag. And you should see I kind of made a mistake there. I should have used a capital O in orange. So one thing, the tags are displaying the titles and from the tag field, tag manager, and you do have to therefore make sure that your titles have correct spelling and correct capitalization, whatever your style is on your website. So otherwise, to fix it, you have to go to that's another reason you might go to the template manager. Tags have aliases just like regular content. So here we see we have orange as a alias in the URL, and there's no menu. There's no menu item to it right now, so it's got kind of a long URL. Okay, so there's a lot of front end. A lot of the interesting parts about tags, of course, are in the front end. Yes, you can use tags, like I said, to help your site management, but a lot of, right now, the main implementations that we've done have been focused on the front-end user experience of tags. So, in fact, there's 2 main there's two com tags component views, and one is a list of all possible tags and with various filters, and the other is a list of items that have been tagged. And that itself has two different layouts. And each one of these has many, many options. And that's what I'm going to do, showing you on the actual website, because it's really too many options to even describe in the slides. So if I just to look at them, first of all, this is a simple layout where I just asked, give me the name of every tag. This is unfiltered in any way, and it's just, it gives me a list of every tag. And you can see that it's actually arranged in rows and columns, and we do have options to do that kind of complex arrangement. So that is one with 4, and then I also made one with six columns, and this is also with 1 column. And in this one, you can see I also added an image, description, and I also chose to display the descriptions of each of the tags. So what do I mean by that? The first thing is, of course, if we go back and look at the tag manager, again, this is some reason why you might want to use the tag manager. The tags themselves are very much like creating an article or a category, in that you have an editor and you can create as much body text as you want. You don't have, it's not like an article, you don't have page break or read more, but you can go ahead and create just like you normally would in any editor. You also have two images options, just like in an article or in many other places in the core. So one is for the teaser image, or what we call the intro text image in an article, and the other is the full image for the full view. And we also have the usual publishing options and metadata options. And of course we can set the access level. So access level, very useful for tags. You might be thinking, why, wouldn't I just always want to share tags? But no, like sometimes if you're running if you have a user, you might want to tag users who are problem content creators, or you might have something that you just want a certain group to be able to see. It actually lets you, if you use it the right way, you can create a little bit of a workflow with it, like have a set of tag for a certain group to be able to review items. If you start thinking about it, there's a lot of ways that grouping data can be very powerful. So given that we have all those things, when we create our menus, that means that we have the option, we have many, many options inside of a tag menu item. So for the simple one, the one that I showed you first, as I said, it was very simple. It doesn't have, I just pretty much left everything at the default. I have, of course, the ability to create my alias. I said 4 because over here is where I told it to create 4 columns, which I think is the default. And we can actually, I'll show you the one with the header image now. So when I had the one with image, in this case, I told it to go ahead and show the item image. Oh, this is actually this one. Sorry. Okay, so you can actually show the images from the intro images for your individual items that are tagged. So in this case, I chose the option to show the intro images and the teaser text or intro text or description text for each of the tags. So that's this layout here, where I'm actually saying go ahead and for the items, you're going to show the images. And for each individual tag, in this case it's a view of tags. So for each individual tag that you're showing, it's showing the description. That's the default. So it's showing the description. I can hide the description on that view. Right, so then I just have this kind of weird looking image page, but with really poorly sized, inconsistent images. But if we were doing it on a live site, we would certainly want to make it look a little neater. Or maybe not, maybe like that. But so it's very similar, again, to the options that we have in other list layouts in Joomla, where you can show the image, you can show the description text, like in a category layout or in a web link layout. You can do similar things. So in this case, it's for tags. You can also, one of the things that I find useful is that when you're making this all tag, there's no description text for all tags. It's kind of like showing all categories. There's no description of all categories. There's only descriptions of individual categories. So if you wanted a little text at the top there, you could add a short or long text right in the menu lane, and that'll actually give you a little bit of content that's at the top of the page. And of course, just as usual, you don't have to show the filter and you don't have to show the drop down if you don't want to. Same thing with pagination. I don't have enough tags to have pagination right now. You can show the pagination. It's, again, you know, in Joomla what we try to do is to have consistency of user interface and consistency of design. So we really strive to make it that very familiar to people in terms of the layouts that they're able to do. Some of the other advanced options that you can see for the tags layout is that here it says Children of Blue. If you remember, in my tags, I had I had nesting. I had the blue tag, and then I had a bunch of different shades of blue underneath blue. So when I made this menu item, that's called Children of Blue, I used some of the features that are on the second page, and this is an example of why nesting turns out to be very, very useful to people. So in this case, what I said was I want to just include, I don't want to have all of my tags. I only want to include those tags that are the children of the blue tags. So obviously if you're thinking about how you might use tags, you might say, I'm going to have a bunch of tags over here that have to do with events, and I'm going to have another bunch of tags over here that have to do with days, with people, something about people. And one person was saying to me that she had a library site and she wanted tags for reviewers, people who had reviewed the book, and then a separate set of tags for genres. So she wanted to say this is a fantasy for young adults that takes place in the West, the Wild West. And she also wanted to say there were reviews from these three people. And so she wanted two completely separate sets of tags, and that was, talking to her actually while we were working on tags, was one of the reasons I really pushed to have, to maintain that nesting, even though it's a bit challenging. So here where it says selection options, Um, we're going to have we have the parent, oh, here it is, sorry, parent tag right underneath the heading. Parent tag is blue. So I could obviously pick any tag here, but only blue in my data right now. Only blue has children. So I have the blue as the parent. And so therefore, it's only going to show me the tags that are the children of blue. So as I said, that it turns out to be extremely useful to people, and it's one of the reasons that Joomla tagging is better than tagging some other CMSs we could think of. So that's enough about the tags displays, I think. The other kind of display that we have is the tagged items. So these are our lists that show items that have been tagged with a particular tag or group of tags. So in this case, my first tagged items is a simple one where I just said, give me all of the items that have the tag Joomla. Okay, so that's the one required thing you do in these the tagged items layouts. You do have to have at least one tag listed. And so this just basically said, give me everything that has the tag of Joomla on it. So, and I didn't use a lot of options in this layout, but I could have. For example, I could have said show tag name. Yeah, so now I have the tag name. And again, I could also show the tag description, or if I want, I could override the description with my own description right here. Same thing with an image. I can override an image with my own image for this particular menu link. And again, we have the similar sorting options, like you can sort by how good the quality of the match is, by when it was created, and that kind of thing, and ascending and descending. And we have many other item selection options, which I'm going to show you some examples of in a second. So that's the basic one. Let me just show you some of the other ones that I made. So one of the cool features about tagging is that you can actually make a list that contains items with more than from two different tags. So in this case, and you can do it with and matching. So in other words, just give me the items that are tagged with both blue and yellow, or you can do it with or matching. So this said, give me all of the items that are either blue, have either the blue tag or the yellow tag. And in this case, I said, don't include those children of blue tags. Only give me items that are actually tagged blue itself. Or I could do it with children, so anything yellow or blue, but also including any items that were tagged with baby blue or sky blue or whatever color of blue. So right there, that tells you there's a lot of possibilities. And then, oh, that's a web link. Web links just go straight to the thing. This would be a contact. So this contact has a blue tag. This contact, this is apples, but it has a contact. It has a yellow tag, and it's in these. The routing is pretty good. It does give you the correct layout and template and modules for the tagged item. And of course, we just have regular articles. This one happens to have 3 tags. So we have a lot of options in terms of doing that. So how does that work? So if I'm creating my menu items for tagged tagged items. Say I want to do my blue and yellow one. So first of all, I can select multiple tags in the tag field. It's a nice feature of Chosen that, and one reason that we're using it. Yeah, got my orange. So I can just add as many tags as I want right there in the field. I can then go over here to the advanced options, and here where it says selection options, that's where I get to make choices about my match. So match type means only give me items that contain all of the tags that I put into the tag field. Any means they just have to contain at least one. And one of the sort options you might have seen before was about quality of match. So if you sort by that, things that match on more tags will come up higher in the ranking than things with fewer tags. But that's really useful, especially if you don't have a lot of tags or you're starting to tag on your site. You may not have millions of tags, and so doing any match can be really useful. If you have a lot of tags, then doing all match is going to give you a more reasonable number of returned items. I mean, a lot depends on your users too, how tag happy they are. If they tag a lot of things, I was looking on, there's a lot of, a number of sites that use tagging, not Joomla tagging, but other formats, and you see some sites where items will have 15, 20 tags on them, and other sites where nothing ever really has more than 2 or 3 tags. So a lot depends on the culture of your users and what kind of content you're using them for. This is the include exclude. So basically, this is about whether or not you're going to include or exclude child tags. Child tags only that only applies if you're doing all match or an or match. It can't really apply, like if you do a strict match, it's really a strict match. It has to be exact. So blue is blue, no children. But for all match, you do have the option of child tags or not child tags. And we already went through that there are a lot of other options that you can do that should give you a lot of flexibility. And pretty much the normal Joomla page list layout options that we're used to. So that's a good thing. The other kind of option that we have, and you might think this is actually a little bit retro in Joomla, because you can actually limit your results to a specific type or set of types. So, one of the big advantages of tags is that it does give you results across many content types. As we saw on this list, I have contacts, I have articles, I have web links, but sometimes you may not want all of those possible content types. So, for example, here I just made a link that was blue news feeds, or I could say blue news feeds plus blue web links. And yes, you can also return categories themselves for also content in this model. So there were no blue web links. Yeah, so now I have some articles also showing. So that's also kind of nice, because if you do have some extensions that you're using for more private reasons or for special purposes, you may, and they do use tagging, you may not want them to return. So, and you may not want, for example, your categories to return. So every category can be tagged. I don't think I tagged any for today, but I could. It's just the same as anything else. Now, it won't show up here because it's not an article or a newsfeed or a web link, but it will show up here because it is blue. So right. So here's my category, and it'll just take me over to a category layout. Pretty easy. Oh, that's a newsfeed actually. Sorry. So the but it gives you a sense of how you can use those different type options to be able to play around with your tag layouts and be able to see how to use them creatively. I didn't really show how to use the tags modules. We do have 2 tags modules right now that you can enable, and I guess I might as well do that. The you have to enable them. There's not a default version of them. One is called the similar tags module, and similar tags, it's a deceiving name because what happens is it's saying find me some other content items, which would be articles or web links or whatever, that have a similar set of tags. It's not saying that 2 tags are similar to each other. It's saying that the content has similar tags. So the similar tags only is going to show when you have it on yeah, here it is. So similar tags here is showing me that this item here has yellow and that Tamarind, shop address, webmaster, and owner also have similar tags. They probably all have yellow, right? Like Tamarind has yellow, blue, and navy. So it's similar to apples. So similar tags is a good way to help users find content that is kind of like, it's similar to like the old related items module. It helps users find other content in your site that they might be interested in based on the content that they're currently looking at. So that's a good way to do a lot of different things, whether you want to promote additional items that you're selling or you just want to have a stickier site where people are spending more time. Showing people other links to other content that they might be interested in is a good idea. And then there's many options, again, as always, with this. For example, you can set a maximum number of items that you're going to return, and you should set that because it wouldn't be good otherwise. And obviously, here, you just saw in the example, that tag was yellow, and if you set it to all, it'll say it'll only find other items that contain all of the tags that item you're looking at contains. If you say any, it'll find the top 5 items that have at least one of the same tags. And half is kind of a, they have to have at least half of the same tags. So if something has 4 tags, it's going to find other items that have at least 2 of those tags. And it rounds down. So if you have 3 tags, it's going to find items that have at least 1. Or if you have 5 tags, it'll find items that have at least 2 the same. So again, once you start having a lot of tags, you may want to use a bit stronger matching because that's going to be better user experience for your users to have stuff that's more closely related to what they're interested in. The other module that we have is the popular tags module. And that's basically asking which tags are the most looked at. and just make sure it's published and assigned to every page. The popular tags module has a lot of options that are useful. Again, the number. Also, it does let you do kind of trending tags if you want, because it'll tell you what has been popular in various short periods of time. So if you have a really active site, you could be like Twitter and say what's the most popular in the last hour. On the other hand, if you're not getting that many site visitors, you might say what's the most popular in the last month or last year. This is not based on hits. This is based on the number of items that have been tagged with this tag. So how many items have been tagged orange in the last, or what have been in the last day the most commonly used tags. So so here's my popular tags. Obviously, I just was making this website fresh this morning, so everything was popular in the last day. But it has, it'll basically count how many times the tag has been assigned to content. So those are useful modules, and I think over time we'll probably add some more modules related to tags, and I think one of the easiest ways that you can use tags also is to make your own modules or to override that. I know people really want a cloud tag, and I'm sure we will get a contribution of a cloud tag very soon because it's in high demand. So one other thing I want to mention is when you see tags in items, how can you style them? So of course we want to be able to make things look good. We see these tags up here, apples and bees, it's hardly styled at all. It's just a basic link. If we stick to Protostar, ISIS, Protostar, we see it's just got the standard button color that is whatever you picked in when you set your template options. Now, Tags uses a new feature that's part of Joomla 3.1, which is called a JLayout, and that means that this little block of HTML here that is rendering the tags is actually in every single content type, it's the same block of code. So one of the challenges with tags is we had to have consistency across all the content types. We had to make the links work, and we had to make this consistent appearance of the tag buttons. But of course, you may not want to have consistent appearance of the buttons. You may want to have different classes for different settings, or even different classes for different specific types of tags, or different colors for different kinds of tags. Sometimes people want to have the hot tag, the new tag for their new items and things like that. So of course we want to be able to do really nice styling. So we use this new feature called the JLayout, and you can see it if you want to find it. The JLayouts, if you go to your Joomla folder, there's a new folder there called layouts that and within layouts there's subfolders. So if you go to Joomla content, the last one on the list is called tags, and you can open it and it looks like this. And it's just standard code like you would see in any Joomla layout. So what you can do is you can see right here is where there is a class, a link class here being assigned to each of the tags. So what you want to do is take this tags file and you want to put it into your HTML folder of your template, make a new folder called layout, and then just like with doing any layout override, use the same file structure. So you would have HTML/Joomla/content/tags.php, and then you can customize this to your heart's content. And you don't have to do, we just are doing a simple loop here to pull out all the tags and make them identical. You don't need to do that. You can do the tags however you want to style them. So JLayouts are a really good new flexible feature of Joomla, and you should look for them. You'll see them, many JLayouts being used now, and they really help you get consistent look and feel across your website. Okay, and then I just wanted to say one thing about developers. I didn't, I do want to say that, there's my page. So of course we have different kinds of extensions that you might want to build. And I will say Roberto Suguera did a great presentation at Joomla and Beyond that was a whole hour by itself just on how to incorporate tags into a component. But we also, of course, use them in plugins and modules. So I just want to say that I think you can really use the two modules that are there as a guideline for creating them. There are many, there are a lot of tables involved in tags, and so it's important to know where to look for your data. There's a tags table, of course, but there's also something called the content item tag map table, and that's a table that just shows you the relationship between tags and content items. So if you want to make any kind of listing of content items with different kinds of tags, that's the table you want to do your queries from. And what we did is there's a new class in the CMS library called JHelper Tags, and that class contains a lot of really helpful methods that will make creating a module pretty easy, because it's things like getting, for an individual item, get the ID, get all the IDs of all the tags, do a query on different kinds of tag, most popular or whatever characteristics you want. But the queries, the base queries are pretty much set up for you. So it's relatively easy to create a custom module or to create a plugin if you want to do that. And I will say that we do for components. I'm happy to talk about that if people have questions, but it's of course a little more complex when you're doing a component. We do have a page in the documents wiki on doing this, and there are a couple changes coming in 3.1.2 that will make it even easier. So if you want to wait until the maintenance release, or you want to use, you should probably take a look at the Joomla tracker and install some of the changes that are waiting to be merged. Okay, so I talked way too long, and I think we should have questions and hear what people want to know about.
No, Elin, I think you did a great job kind of arcing the topics for all different users. But really great information. Before we get to the questions and answers, and folks, do find that slide out question and answer field in GoToMeeting and post that question. I can read that to Elin. We did have a few show up during the presentation, but before you started, I just want to let you know that Paul commented that he read your book on the Russian Mafia in America years ago, and he still has it. And Ruth,
awesome.
And Elin is in New York City, presenting this morning, where she lives, and Ruth is also attending from New York City, and she says, "Go Lehman College."
Yay!
Yeah. Now, one question from me before we start. Why tags? And I'm really interested to get your sort of 30-second point of view on SEO and the evolution of SEO, and why tags over metadata?
Oh, well, tags are really more about organizing your content effectively rather than necessarily, you can put your tags in metadata. We're not doing it right right now in 3.11, we are putting them in metadata, but we're probably taking them back out because they're not, tag actually is not an approved metadata name. But in terms of SEO and in terms of really, the most important thing about getting good results in terms of people coming to your site is to have good content where people can find what they want, it's well organized, and it makes sense to them. So tags really help you do that. And it was a big frustration for many people, including me, as I said at the beginning, not to be able to cross-list different kinds of content and to be able to easily connect different forms of content to each other. And having those different forms of content is actually a really good thing about Joomla, but the fact that they were in these silos was not. So now that we can do that, it's much better in terms of those, especially those pages with multiple items on them, and then being able to link to related content. So
right.
I think actually the tag links themselves are quite good because they usually are a good word. People tend to use real language words for their tag names, and so they're good links, and they link to high-quality content.
Cool. Yeah, it's that connectivity, I think, between the different types of content, which I think really makes it unique. And Paul posted a concern, not a question, but he said, I hope they don't replace categories.
No.
Yeah.
No way, because we need categories. I mean, first off, there's a lot of people who like hierarchical content and have that structure. Second, categories take care of certain things for us that are very important. For example, they take care of access control. You can't use tags. Tags are totally unrelated to access control. But as everybody who uses Joomla knows, like, you can assign user privileges based on the category content is in. So we have to have categories, and those categories have to kind of have a very structured branch system, because that's the only way access control can work. You can't have a system where you have two different parents with two different sets of rules. You have to have one linear system. So we definitely are not losing categories.
Okay. And a question from Richard. I think you've kind of covered it a little bit, but it's more a question about using tags with multiple, two or more category blog articles. So he wants to use the read more button, and I think essentially wants to know if it's going to interfere with tagging and using multiple tags in multiple category blog posts. That's
really interesting. So you can have tags so in a category blog with tags, or is that what we mean? That if you have tags?
Yeah, I think using one tag within multiple posts that also include the read more button.
Yeah, that's fine, because what happens is, actually right now I think we're not even showing tags in the blog views, although there's no reason not to. It's just a lot of, I'm a little bit concerned about performance, because if you're having to get all the tag IDs for each article, that can, be a lot of queries sometimes. But there's not really any relationship between what's happening with the tags and what's happening with the category views. Like, tags are you just kind of slap them onto places, and they don't do anything. They don't change your access level. They don't change your permissions. They don't change your publication state, and they just are kind of like, a sticker, like a Post-it note, right? That you can just stick them on there, and then you can take them off, and they don't leave any mark behind. So, yeah, they don't interfere at all with, like, read more. The only thing I would say is, I don't think we're supporting. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think if you make the tagged item list with the view, there's two views. There's the compact view, which we mainly looked at, but there's also the view where you can show the intro text. And I don't think we're supporting read more in there, if I remember correctly. We just have that link title to get to the full version of the article. But it would be, interesting to think about supporting a read more link in the tagged items view.
Okay.
Worth considering.
In another question from Richard, too, you did talk about web links,
right.
Just sort of with integrated content. He writes, can you ask her how tags work with web links, regular articles, and a category blog, if possible?
Sure. So the first thing is you just start tagging content items. So a category blog, you could tag the category, or you could tag individual items within that category. So there's two different ways you can actually have tags in a category blog. Let's just see if I can have, with web links is kind of a special case because we don't have, as you know, we don't have the individual web link view. We just have the view that says, give me your, I was looking for a web link single category. So the web link single category is the one place in the category list, I think, right now where we're actually showing the tags in the category list. So and that's because there is no view of category of web links. It just shows a single web link. So this is what it would look like if we start supporting having the tags show in like a contact list or a category blog or something like that. Now, if we had a web link in a tagged view, so like a tagged item view, it does behave a little bit. I think it sometimes might surprise people. I actually did that before when I was looking at one of my examples. Find the web link. This will have the most. So here, OLO tracking of Joomla. This is a web link. So this has been tagged with either yellow or blue. And now if I click on it, interestingly, it's just going to go straight there. It's just going to act like a regular web link right there in that context. So, and that's because of how the web links model is set up. So it really, I actually was surprised when we first did it. I was kind of surprised it worked, but it just automatically sent it straight to the external site. So if you tag a web link, it doesn't do anything. It'll make the web link show up in a list of tagged items, but it's not going to change how the web link acts. It's still just a click. It's still going to take you to the external site. And then the one special thing is that web links category list does show each tag, the tags for each individual web link.
All right.
What was the other one?
Well, that was it. That was the question from Richard. Richard, I hope that fills you in a little bit. We actually have no other questions at this point, and I think that's because it's so new. I think people haven't really had a chance to play around with it all that much. If you do have a question, please post it in complete sentence form so I can ask that question to Elin. I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen back for just a moment.
Okay.
And just show our attendees some of the other resources. You should all be able to see my screen right now. But there were a few resources. There is a forum where you can go and post follow-up questions, and it's just the general questions for Joomla 3.0 users. And post a question here about tags for now, and this might be worth following up with Elin, you know, in 6 months or so, or a year, and as people get further along with their own development.
Sure.
But there is also a document, and it's pretty complete, comprehensive. I mean, there's a lot of information here about tags at docs.joomla.org as well. You can find more information. A new question from Paul, though. Capital versus lowercase letters. Will both display capital G Google?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They'll both just, whatever you type is going to be what displays. We're not filtering it at all. So it's up to you to do it. Now, you know, one thing is that if you are good at CSS, there is a CSS way of ensuring that you get like an uppercase, always get first letter uppercase, which I can't tell you because I'm not a CMS whiz, but I have seen people use it. And So that's one thing you might want to think about. Some people, your site has preferences probably in terms of does it want to use uppercase or not.
Okay. And a question from Paul, too. I saw you were doing a menu item listing all tags. Is it possible to list all tags in a module?
Yes. Well, no, there's not an all tags list in the module. There's the popular tags. So if you made that maximum number high enough, you could get all of them.
Okay.
You just have to be, you wouldn't normally, I mean, it depends how you're using the site, because if you have a site where you're just going to have 10 tags and that's it would make total sense to do that. And you could actually just use the popular tags item module to do that. But if you're like Stack Overflow and not a Joomla site, but they have like 150,000 tags, obviously you're never going to list all of them on one page.
Right.
Or in one module. So it really depends on you.
Yeah, Paul was asking not popular or similar tags, but how to do all. So a workaround for you, Paul, is setting the maximum display of those tags. Hopefully that helps. Alan asked, will this be available online, as I missed the start? It will be available online later today at youtube.com/cloudaccess. If you scroll down to our fourth playlist here, Special Joomla Webinars, Extensions, Upgrades, and Development, you'll be able to find this webinar along with several other webinars about different extensions or core Joomla tips and tricks. Alan says thanks, and Richard says thanks. Paul followed up saying, I'll just use categories, and that's it for today. So, Elin, thank you so much for helping us out with this. Yeah, hopefully we can do some more work together in the future. And what are you working on next?
Joomla 3.2,
Really? Wow.
which is going to have some really interesting things. And we'll have some more enhanced features of tags and hopefully some new content-related development.
All right. Well, everyone, good luck developing your Joomla site. Thank you very much for attending. Good luck with the tags component, and we hope to see you in another webinar very soon. I do want to just put in a quick plug for our webinars, some upcoming events, and go to training and Joomla webinars at our site, and then upcoming special Joomla webinars. We have a SH404 SEF webinar coming up for security analytics and SEO for Joomla. We have an AEC webinar coming up for an extension that helps with memberships and subscriptions, and the JCal Pro webinar for collaborating and calendaring. So lots of events coming up, a few more to get listed here. Christian says, thank you. Another window is open for me in Joomla. And thanks again, and Elin, take care, and we hope to see everyone real soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.